Tsadik represents the hook, as we learned last week, and the resh, which represents man or a man's head. So when you see this word tsar, it can mean any of these. Mainly tribulation, because you're in some bad stuff there. Aratz, rats. There's the ein that is silent. It's got a kamatz, the resh, and a final nun, a final tzadik. And it means fear or terror. We see the picture of terror as a naked hook. Ever see a meat hook? You may be in trouble thinking you may be on that hook. Anybody walk through a butcher shop, you see the hang the meat and stuff? Now this one, Zamar, you got the Tzadik, Mem, Aleph. Zamar, it means thirst. And if we look at the word and break it down as a word picture, we see the first letter, Tzadik, as the fish hook or a hook. Then we see the next, which is a mem, which means, if we remember, water. And the final letter is an aleph, which denotes ox, strong, or first. So it shows us hooked by water strongly. Hooked by water strongly, which means thirst. Pretty neat, isn't it? Now, we're going to see some segols here. Tzedek, which means righteousness. Let's look at this one. The word picture would tell us that you are righteous when you're hooked in the door you follow. Wanda covered a little bit of this on her opening deal there. Concept being that you go straight without turning aside. Scripture says go straight, don't turn to the left nor to the right. The tzadik is a fish hook, the dalet being the door, and the kuf, which we have not studied yet, as a matter of fact, that's the next lesson, means back of the head, behind the fowl. And that's exactly what Wanda was teaching us this morning. Going deeper into this word, it also implies a right relationship to the ethical or legal standard. Tehillim, Psalms 119, 137 through 138 says, righteous are you, O Lord, and upright are your judgments. Why did he put upright in there? Upright. The tzadik, standing straight. Just like the final nun, standing straight for life. Upright. Your testimonies which you have commanded are righteous and very faithful. God is the opposite of all things that are bad and evil. Bereshit, Genesis 6, 9, and 15, 1 through 6 says, this is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. And after these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. But Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? Then Abram said, look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, excuse me, this one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. And then he brought him outside and said, look now towards the heaven and count the stars if you're able to count them. And he said to him, so shall your descendants be. And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. Can we do the same thing? Can we walk outside and say, Lord, and our righteousness, our right standing with God. God says, ask, and you shall receive. You have not because you ask not. But we are in right standing with God when our heart is connected to Him. Romans 19. For if by the one man's offense death reigned through the one, much more those who receive abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness will reign in life through the one, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Therefore, as through one man's offense, judgment came to all men, resulting in condemnation, even so through one man's righteous act, the free gift came to all men, resulting in justification of life. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so also by one man's obedience many will be made righteous. This one, tzedakah. If anybody has been in a synagogue, you have a tzedakah box. We had one in here when we were holding our meetings on Shabbat. We had a tzedakah box. Everybody put in. We sent lots of money to Israel. So it means deeds of loving kindness. This is a noun that means righteousness, blameless conduct, and integrity. There it is. Tzedakah. Also, additional meanings describe justice, right actions, right attitudes, as expecting for both God and people when they're judged. The word describes the attitude and actions God has and expects His people. God has and expects us to keep. When we walk through our daily lives, are we being this? Are we maintaining what God has given us? Returning a poor man's cloak was an act of obedience that was considered righteous. How are we treating our spouses? How are we treating our people that come in contact with us? We go through life, rush. But are we maintaining what God has given us, Pastor? See, if we're not in right standing, we can't give what God has given us away, because the vehicle has been polluted. Leave your gift at the altar and go make amends. Then come back to the altar and present your gift. That's being righteous. Amen? Devarim, Deuteronomy 24:13. You shall in any case return the pledge to him again when the sun goes down, that he may sleep in his own garment and bless you. and it shall be righteousness to you before the Lord your God. How many of us are carrying aught against one another? How many of us have been hurt by others and you're carrying that poison in us? What a waste. God has given us all this stuff, and we hinder ourselves by being disobedient, by harboring what somebody else has done to us. That somebody else has their own problems. You don't have to accept and receive and carry somebody else's problems. There's so many of us that walk around with hurts that destroys our walk, destroys our righteousness. It's a ploy of the enemy. And he wins so many times. You know why I say the enemy in this particular point? Because I don't give a lot of credence to the enemy. Because we were, when we got born again, we overcome. He's under our foot. Most of the time it's us. And even in this case, there's a lot of us involved in what we do. But the enemy knows this. You know how he knows this? He can't read our mind. But familiar spirits, familiarity of what we do as a Homo sapien, he has registered our actions and our reactions to certain situations. And he will play on